Hi, Vanessa. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Sterling. Nice to meet you. Please have a seat
here. Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, so I know you're looking at this form here. So before we get started,
yeah,
I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about informed consent.
Okay.
So of course, anything that we discuss in this room is confidential.
Okay.
Right. And first off, thank you so much for agreeing to be my volunteer client for this assignment.
Yeah.
And as you know, unless there's anything like neglect or child abuse or anything that would have to report under provincial law, anything stays between us.
Okay.
Okay.
So everything's confidential.
Everything is confidential.
Okay. Unless I. Okay.
Yeah. So would you like to sign and read? Take a minute to read it?
I like to read things very thoroughly, so I'm just gonna take some time.
No problem. Take all the time you need.
And I sign here?
Yes, and just before you sign, just let you know this video will be uploaded to YouTube just so my professor and my classmates can possibly view it.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay. I give you 100%
Perfect.
permission to do that. Okay. Name, and then I guess, do I
Name
sign?
and date, please. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
So now, before we get started, how are you doing?
Oh, I've had a long day, but I'm okay. I've had a few things on my mind, of course. That's why I'm here. But overall, it was an okay day. Just very long, exhausting. But of course, I don't know if I should start or.
Of course, please.
Yeah. So basically. I don't know, do you want me to give you like some information about like I don't know where I should start, like do you want background information?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so raised and born in Mississauga. I come from a Middle Eastern family, so we were raised here. But of course my parents were from back home in the Middle East. Very traditional upbringing, the father is very domineering, mother's submissive. 4 of us, I'm the eldest of 4. I have 3 younger siblings, and I'm the only girl. And of course, the 3 boys, even though they're younger than me, have complete say in anything and everything. So
to do with you?
To do with me, my mom. They overpower my mom. So my dad and the 3 boys are just,
How do you feel about that?
That, it's like they should understand to get with the times that we're in now. I understand the culture and the values, but it's like society has progressed so much.
Of course.
That it's important to, hold on to values that are good and let go of other values that are a bit outdated. Like, I mean, we're living in times where people have progressed, and I personally...
Have you explained that to them?
It's like talking to a brick wall.
Okay.
Honestly, my mother just says, you don't get your father upset. He'll get upset. There's no point. Just, it's okay. It is what it is. You can't change him. He's getting older. He's going to get worse. Great. Yeah. So
is that frustrating for you?
It's very frustrating because it's leading to other things that are giving me a lot of anxiety, and I know the root problem is the environment that I'm in. I know it's that, and I'm trying to find ways to cope, but it's still very hard,
Okay, so you feel like you're dealing with some anxiety over this.
Oh my gosh, like I get sleepless nights, I get stressed, I get paranoid. It's like ongoing. It's like one thing after the other, and it just keeps on escalating.
Do they know that this pressure is making you feel that way?
It's such a taboo topic. You can't anxiety, depression.
Right.
We don't have that in our culture. No, we're super people. Culturally speaking, that's how they see themselves. So No, I haven't really spoken to anyone about it. And
it's perfectly normal to feel that way and to go through things like that. You know, everybody has things they're dealing with. You know, have you tried talking to your mom?
I try, but to her, it's like I mentioned, it is what it is. You can't change him. I mean, I have no one really else to vent to. I mean, I'm not going to vent to my brothers that are younger than me. Right. I mean, and they have more control over me, which is, it doesn't make sense. They can come home past 1. I have to be home at 10. It doesn't make sense. I'm older. I'm more responsible. I have a career. But
does that make you angry that they're younger?
It makes me frustrated because it doesn't make sense. Because I'm more vulnerable.
Right.
You know? So it's like
it's a hard
the hypocrisy, the double standards are just, I can't. And now my father wants me to get involved in an arranged marriage. And I do not want nothing to do with this person. He just came from the Middle East, doesn't speak any English.
Okay.
Doesn't have any sort of education. Not that's, you know, it's important. It's important to me. That's something that I value.
Okay. And have you know, discussed your displeasure?
Of course. Doesn't listen. And every day I dread it and I avoid my father. I'm starting to resent him. I want nothing to do with him. And he's pressuring me, telling the family. Now the family's getting involved.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And that's, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
So would you possibly consider moving out on your own? Is that something that you would, you know, think about?
You know, I've thought about running away, but it's like, where do I go? Where do I go?
You know, there's many resources out there, and if you're working, you know, we could always put you in touch with some people that are possibly going through the same thing, or perhaps a support group. You know, we could talk about different options. So would you be open to talking to someone?
How would they benefit me?
You know, in terms of the cultural perspective, right? Some people, maybe from your culture, would be able to relate. Maybe they've gotten out of a situation like that. You know, maybe they've actually moved out on their own and, you know, they were able to make it and they, you know, worked and just kind of provided for themselves until their family can kind of meet them on the middle ground. Would you consider doing something as drastic as that to make them see your point of view?
I think that's an option. I mean, of course, it's scary. It's like, what if I get caught? Yeah. What if he finds out? And it's like you can't win with the situation.
Be severely upset if you moved out?
My mom has no say. Okay. My dad, oh my gosh, I don't know what lengths he'll go to just to bring me back and marry this person, which I do not want. I try it every day. I'm trying to be strong right now. I cry. Yeah. It gets to me. I don't want to see anyone. My social life has deteriorated. It's just. Okay. It's eating at me. It's stressing me out so much.
Do you have friends that you could talk to about this?
They're going to say the same thing.
Are they at all supportive? Do they understand?
The ones that are in my community, which I try to stay away from, well, you should honor your parents and listen. That's what he wants. Okay. But it's my life. Right. I'm not going to marry someone I don't love. I can't do that. I can't do that. You can't get intimate with someone you don't love. And they just think, oh, well, you have to respect them. And that's it. It's like, no, I will respect them to certain degrees. But when it comes to this, I cannot do that. Not at all. No way. So, aside from them, I don't really talk to my other friends, you know, my Canadian friends. Okay. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. I don't really want to
You don't think they relate or they understand?
It's like, ew, it's not like, I don't know if they're mature enough to handle. You know what I'm saying? I haven't tried. Marriage or just the cultural norm. I don't know if this is all my assumptions. Right. I don't know. I'm too scared to bring it up because it's such an awkward thing to mention. Yeah. I don't know. My cousins, same thing. You should respect your parents. Right. And like I said, I'll respect them to a certain degree, but I cannot do that.
Are your cousins in similar situations?
Some of them yes, and some of them no. Okay. And it depends. Some of them, it's, some of them that weren't in that situation, the parents just know not to get involved. It's like, that's their own issue, let them deal with it. And I don't want my family members to get involved, even though they pressure and they still bud their nose into everything. But it's just, yeah. So that's why I guess I'm here.
No, I understand. It is obviously a difficult thing that you're going through and you kind of don't know where to go, where to turn. Yeah, so, but I still will think about those. I mean, if worse comes to worse, if it's
the last option and I feel like, okay, enough is enough, I cannot handle this, I'm going to look for help. I'm going to have to leave eventually.
Right.
Conceal my identity, take the right approach. I can't.
Do you think you would be in any sort of danger at all?
Yeah, my father, my brothers.
Oh, okay.
It's very, if you go against the men and religiously as well, it's very, you know, so.
You know, there are women's support groups that, you know, you would be able to help with something like that. If there's any kind of sort of domestic abuse or violence or within the household or anything
that's another issue it's in with my mother, but that's something else. And yeah, so I just don't, and I don't want her to be in that situation too, but I mean.
So are you worried about leaving your mom alone in the same house?
That's the thing too. I don't want to leave her alone, and then I mean, I think about it, I'm like, well, I'll just sacrifice and I'll just listen and I'll be miserable. Right. So, yeah. I mean, I think if it escalates and I get to a point where I can't handle it, that's the next option. And I know it's going to be really hard for me to do, but I know it's going to be something that I have to do. So you would be willing to take those steps to make sure that you got out of that situation? Yes, if it came down to it. Absolutely. Okay, so that's good to know, right? Because I think at this point you need to figure out a way to move forward with your life in a healthy way, because obviously right now you're going through a hard time and this isn't working for you, right? Yeah. And your brothers, would they understand if you were to do something like this? No. They wouldn't understand. Yeah. They're very narrow-minded, they've learned a lot of stuff from my father. Okay. You know, you're the woman, you should be staying here and doing this, and you should be obedient and submissive, and you listen to us and what we say and what we demand. Okay. I want to have tea ready by 6 o'clock. I want this, have it be ready by, I want dinner after you come home from a long day of work, you come home and you make food for us. Okay. It's very, very backwards. The mentality is hasn't progressed with the times. Okay. So do you have any outlets, like anything that can take your mind off of this? Things you could spend, you know, time doing to get you out of the house, out of that situation, you know, kind of put some distance? I mean, I saw an advertisement for the gym. I don't know if that would help. Yeah, you know, physical health always relates to mental health. You know, it goes hand in hand. If you feel good about yourself and it helps you feel better, would you consider going to get a membership? I think that would be really important to clear my mind, to think about things and just empower myself as well. But yeah, I mean, if you think it's a good idea, I think I would. I absolutely think it's something that you could do to get out of the house, maybe relieve some stress, feel a little bit better about yourself, help you cope. You know, you can meet people there. That's you know, true. Sometimes it's, you know, it could be a positive thing, a social thing, you know. I think it's scary sometimes because you're in a situation and you're scared to step out of that situation and see what else the world has to offer. And I think I'm limiting myself because I'm so anxious. I want to do something, but I'm scared. Everything I do will lead to something that's going to reveal my plans or I don't know. Sometimes I'm confused. So when you have these feelings of anxiety, is there anything that you do to sort of calm yourself down, or do you shut down altogether? Do you step away from the situation? I just leave. I just leave and I just cry. I just don't know what else to do. So is there some sort of trigger? Whenever I see my mother and her relationship with my father, and I think, okay, he wants me to have an arranged marriage with someone that's much, much older than me, that just came to this country. I don't want my life to be like that. I love my parents dearly. I do, but I do not want that. I will not have that. I cannot have that. And it's okay to still respect your parents and love them, but to want to take care of yourself. And, you know, I think that's really important to understand, you know, just because you don't want to do something that they're asking you to do because they're parents doesn't mean you don't love them or you're disrespecting them. Yeah. Right? So I don't think you should be so hard on yourself in that sense, you know. I can tell this is obviously eating you up. So oh my gosh. You are trying to be the best daughter that you can, you know. But you can only handle so much. Exactly. And I'm aware of this. I know I can only handle so much, but it's like, it's just taking that next step, taking that leap of faith and trying. I understand. Yeah. It's hard, you know? It's like you think about things and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. But in reality, putting those things into action is another thing. It's not as easy as it seems.
I understand.
Saying it is easy, but that's why it's...
Would you be willing to look into next steps? Say it came down to it, and you know, your dad came home one day and he was really upset, and he said, you know, I want to get this finalized. I want you to have arranged marriage.
That would be the last straw.
That would be the last straw. So
I would plan my escape.
Okay.
I believe.
So do you have a safe place to go? Do you have someone you can go to? Someone you trust?
No.
No.
Not even my family.
Not even your family. Is there any close friends that would let you stay there while you got your bearings?
I wouldn't want to be around my close friends because they know who they are and they'll come after them.
Okay.
It's serious stuff. This is serious stuff.
There's no...
It's life or death.
Okay.
This is how serious it gets. Like, my father is extreme.
Would you consider coming to a women's center to get shelter and you know, have safety?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we could, you know, go over some in your area and we can get some resources together so that if it ever came down to it...
Should we go outside of my area?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't want to be
absolutely.
In the city.
We can go to another city altogether. Okay. In terms of employment, would you still work at your same job, or I guess maybe that wouldn't be an option?
That's really good. That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's tough. I've built so many relationships with my colleagues, and I've been working there for 1.5 years. I mean, it's great, but I mean, my safety is important too, and I know I'm optimistic in the sense where I know I can find a job. It's just,
of course, you have these skill sets that you can take with you.
Yes, I did graduate with my master's.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is very good. And what is your master's in?
My master's is in kinesiology.
Okay, brilliant. So would you consider, I can imagine, would you consider, you know, if you were to move, would you consider finding, you know, a job, maybe?
Absolutely, even if that means being a cashier or working at Winners, just somewhere to settle in and just conceal my identity and just...
Okay, we could always put you in touch with, you know, the YMCA to get some employment information. They could help set you up.
I'd appreciate that. I mean, once...
you know, I know it's going to be difficult to pay rent and stuff and on your own, so we can discuss, you know, how long it would take to come up with something like first and last and things like that, and how much you would be spending on groceries and transportation and work out a budget so we could figure out, you know, if it's feasible. But definitely the women's shelter would be the best place for the beginning.
Just to start off.
Just to start off, exactly. And then we could take it from there one step at a time.
Yeah.
Right? So how are you feeling now? Do you feel any better at all?
I feel more relieved.
Mm-hmm.
I know once I leave, the anxiety will come back.
Right.
It'll come back to reality. Like, I feel safe here. And I feel like it was really nice to vent to you and, you know, having someone listen to me.
Of course.
But like I mentioned, I'm going to go back home. Reality is reality, and it's
well, I think this was the first step. So it's important to remember that, you know, you were feeling this way for so long. You've been frustrated and you've been having anxiety, but now you have somewhat of a plan. You have a way out that would help take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So at least take some comfort in that and think about that when things get really hard.
Yeah.
Try to remember that, you know, you're a person who's trying to take care of themselves, right? And not just, you know, of course you're being a good daughter. Don't doubt that. You know, is there anything else going on in your life right now you could think of that is bothering you in any way, or anything we haven't touched on?
I think that's the biggest thing ever, the cultural factor and the arranged marriage. Okay. And just, that's pretty much it. I mean, but who knows what's going to stem off of this? Hope nothing. But, you know, it is the reality of it, but I appreciate the service and the help.
You know,
I think
the good thing about being in a country like this is that, you know, there's so many resources to help women that are, you know, sort of in these situations and feel oppressed and feel like they don't have a voice. You know, it's a good thing that you came here today. It really is.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you directing me, because honestly,
I
wouldn't have known what to do, where to start. Honestly speaking, I wouldn't have known. And I think it's, like before, like I mentioned, I think it's a step in the right direction. Yeah. And
absolutely.
One day at a time.
Yeah. Okay. So to summarize everything, you've been feeling, frustrations with
Yeah.
your family. There's lots of cultural history there. They want you to, engage in an arranged marriage,
Yeah.
and that's something that you do not want.
No, absolutely not.
And this is something that, of course, would distance you from your family if you were to pull away. But you would
make
be
it
willing.
or break it. I can't.
Yes. Okay. So definitely, we will look into next steps with a women's shelter.
Okay.
If it comes down to it, of course, you'll be able to contact me at any time. More than welcome. Of course, we can plan to see each other again. Everything's confidential. And I can see you again next week, same date and time, if that works for you.
Yeah,
we can go over everything again, but moving forward, we'll look at, YMCA, gaining employment outside the city, and just steps we can take to make sure that when this does happen, you're ready, you're prepared, and that you're not going to be so anxious about it anymore because, you're looking forward to your future now.
Yeah.
You're going to take care of yourself and just, take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate this. I actually really do.
Of course.
I feel a bit better.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
It was so nice meeting you and talking to you. Okay, and I will see you again next week, same date and time.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.